Hello, my name is Matthew Zoltan. I'm the author of the Undo app, and I've had about 45 years of experience working with helping people heal, running meditation retreats, and so on. I'm not talking about meditation or life in the usual way. I'm not in any way connected to any tradition. It is entirely original. Everything I have to say comes from whatever I have discovered for and from myself. And one of the most important things that I have discovered in my life is the dangers and the detriment of self-judgment. And I think everybody knows how they end up feeling in the judgments of themselves or when being judged by another person. We all know also how we feel in ourselves, end up feeling when we're judging other people. It causes a disturbance and a dislike, either of the other, of ourselves, or of whatever we judge. So judgment is problematic in the sense that the misuse of judgment, which is personal judgment of ourselves or our attributes or our nature, our body, whatever it happens to be that comes back to being ourselves, the judgment of that changes how that seems to be, changes our experience of it from what it really is before we judge it to how it then seems and feels to be after we judge it. The judgment causing a distortion and a interpretation or a misinterpretation of ourselves as we are. So we can never really understand ourselves, appreciate ourselves, or free ourselves from dislike of any aspect of ourselves so long as we judge it. So judgment is the absolute cause of self-ignorance and self-misunderstanding. It's also the cause of ignorance about others. As a result of judgment, we dislike what we have judged. We dislike our experience of ourselves because of the change in how it feels to be ourselves once we have or are judging ourselves. So judgment or criticism of ourselves completely changes us from what we really are into what we seem to be and seem to feel like after judging ourselves. So no judgment, once it's happened, no judgment allows us access to ourselves as we are. So if you're judging yourself or you're disliking yourself, the reason for this is not because of the way you are, not in truth. The way you truly are is unknown to you once you judge it. So if you're judging yourself or disliking yourself, this is indicating complete self-ignorance, that you simply do not understand yourself in any depth. And you're looking at yourself or thinking about yourself using the thoughts that society or culture have taught you to think. And what does it feel like when you judge yourself? Everybody knows, I think, what it feels like when you judge yourself. You either become angry, you become upset, you become sad, you become hopeless, or you become indifferent when it just gets too much. But what isn't there is any fulfillment or satisfaction with just being you. And the other thing that isn't there is you really do not understand why you are the way you are. You know the way you are, which you don't like, but you don't know why. So your understanding or your knowledge, your experience and your knowledge of yourself being the way you are is incomplete. And this is a problem of the superficiality of thinking about ourselves. When we think about ourselves, we try to understand ourselves through thinking about ourselves. We try to change ourselves through thinking about ourselves. we are already stuck in an opinion of ourselves. We don't try and change ourselves unless our opinion of ourselves is we're not sufficient as we are. We don't try and understand ourselves unless we feel we don't. And we don't try and make any difference in the way we are, again, unless we are judging, criticizing, and disliking the way we are. So superficiality is caused by judgment. It's a reactionary state, a mental reaction to either how we feel, how we behave, how we've spoken, how we've performed, what we're doing in our day-to-day life, what other people think about us. And these judgments are very, very harmful. And the judgment itself is ignorance. When we judge because we do not understand the thing we judge. So when we're coming from a state of not understanding the thing we're judging or thinking about, it's only going to create more confusion. So you can't really believe your thoughts about yourself. You can't really believe your judgments about yourself. Judgment being one of the ways in which thought comes into being. You can't believe it because you wouldn't be judging yourself if you really understood yourself. You wouldn't be judging another person if you really understood them. You wouldn't be criticizing yourself if you really understood that aspect of yourself that you're criticizing and why it is the way it is and how it's come about. And so judgment maintains self-ignorance, and self-ignorance causes more judgment. So we're stuck there. So any attempt to improve on yourself, any attempt to fix yourself is only a continuation of the action which is born out of disapproval with yourself. Because you're not going to try and improve yourself unless you disapprove of the way you are, unless you dislike the way you are. But if you dislike the way you are, I absolutely guarantee you, you do not understand yourself. Absolutely guarantee it. When you don't understand the depths of yourself, you don't understand how you've come about, how your condition has come about, how your behaviors have come about. You may dislike that condition, you may dislike those behaviors. You may be angry about them and cruel to yourself in the way you think about yourself. Is this helping? It's not helping anything. It's maintaining your experience of yourself being something or such that you don't like it. So when you judge yourself, in judging yourself, you alter how it really feels to be you. And the only way you're ever really going to get beneath that ignorance of misunderstanding yourself is to go into the depths of the feeling of you in your body. How does it feel to be you in your body? Because when you go into your body, when you allow yourself to feel the way it feels to be you from within the feeling of that, from within the physical sensations as they already are in your body, when you're feeling yourself from that depth, at that depth you are beneath all thinking and all judgment about yourself. So when you're judging yourself, you're harming yourself. And you're harming yourself out of ignorance of yourself. But once you let yourself drop into the feeling of yourself in the body, any moment you're unsatisfied with yourself or you dislike yourself, let yourself feel the way it feels to be you. And just stay with that feeling of you for a while, not trying to achieve anything. You see, understanding yourself cannot be achieved through thinking about yourself, because thinking is bias. Thinking is loaded with all sorts of ideas. Understanding yourself cannot be achieved through thinking yourself either, because thinking is not actually able to capture the living you. You cannot actually experience the living you as you are through thinking. You can only experience the result of your thinking. How you think about yourself produces a particular disturbance or a particular way that you feel, but this feeling is being produced by your thinking. The way you feel as a sensation already in your body is from what you are as a living being. And that living body being of you, feeling into that, feeling that as it is, that feeling of you is the only way you can know you. It's the only way you can know you exist. It's the only way you can know you're there. It's the only way you can know you're sad, happy, cold, whatever it happens to be. You know all about yourself in the feeling of yourself, and you know nothing about yourself in the thoughts about yourself. Thought is inherently an interpretation of life, an interpretation and a description of life, but it never actually meets with life. You will never experience life through your thinking. You will only experience the result of your thinking. Your judgments of yourself are stopping you from ever knowing yourself as you are. As you are is there as the live sensations in the body. At first you may not like them, but this is because you're in the habit of judging them. You still haven't gone deep enough into the understanding that is inherently in the feeling of you. And this is the way the body, the living body of you, knows itself. What you think about yourself is knowledge that you've gained, opinions that you've gained through your life and from other people. Thinking is knowledge, and you experience that knowledge by repeating that knowledge. That knowledge that you have about yourself is the way in which you describe yourself, the way in which you remember yourself. It's not the way in which you know yourself now. And we only exist now. Everything else is a memory. All thinking is memory. And memory cannot exist now. Try it right now. Try and, right now, in this instant, try and create a thought about yourself. Whilst you are feeling your own existence in this instant, can you think about that? Can you think about that? Can you describe that? You actually will discover you can't. The description will only come a second after what's just happened. And what's just happened and what's still happening now is you. The lived experience of you and the living experience of you is happening on its own. Thinking has nothing to do with that, and thinking can never actually bring you to the experience of yourself or the sensation of yourself as you are living. Thinking is knowledge, which is memory, which comes after you've recorded yourself living. But that's not knowing yourself. Knowing yourself is different to knowledge about yourself. Knowing yourself is only there in the sense of you. What is it like to be you right now? How do you answer that question? I ask you the question, what's it like to be you right now? You don't think about yourself. You can't use thinking about yourself to answer that question. You have to go into the feeling, the felt sensation of yourself as a living body to be able to find the answer to what's it like to be you right now. And then you try and answer that. You try and describe that. What you discover in answer to what's it like to be you right now is you discover the felt sense of you in the body, and that's it. You can't take that any further, and you don't need to. Stay there. Don't then describe that. Don't then bring that into words and thoughts about yourself, because words and thoughts about yourself are actually once removed from what you can only know as the lived experience of yourself right now. And that's all you have. Don't do anything with that. Don't think about that. So when you're judging yourself, you will have caused a disturbance in yourself, in a part of yourself, or in all of yourself. So at first, when you simply come back to that disturbance, that feeling in you that you are causing through your judgment, the first sensation you're going to feel is disturbance. Keep feeling that. Right now, keep feeling that disturbance if you're feeling it. And as you feel it, without more thoughts about it, because now you've entered into the knowing. You've left the knowledge about yourself and you're going deeper into the knowing. The knowing which is only there as the live sensations of the life that you are in the body. There you are. There you know you exist. And what are you feeling at first? If you've been judging yourself, you're feeling disturbance. You're feeling hurt. You're feeling all the ways you have made yourself feel out of your thoughts about yourself. And as I said, your thoughts about yourself are biased. Your thoughts about yourself are ignorance. Thought can never capture life. It's just a description of life. You being life, you being what you are, is only distorted when you think about yourself. So, coming back to that felt sense of yourself in the body right now, that's where you begin to know yourself. As soon as you think about yourself or describe that, you're once removed from that knowing back into thinking again. Do not attempt to capture an understanding of yourself in thinking. The understanding of yourself is a lived experience that is continuous. From the day you're born to the day you die, you are living. And that living sense of you is the only knowing of you that you have. Any thoughts about that is some knowledge and opinions about that based on the society or the culture. The knowing of you is without judgment. The knowing of you is choiceless. You cannot choose which way to be. Once you are in the knowing of you is self-evident as a feeling or a felt sensation in your body, as your body. And there you have you. Now from that point, in that feeling of you, at first you may not like it, but if you stay or return with that feeling of you, any time you remember to come back to the sense of you in the body, you will find that disturbance with being you begins to dissipate. One reason is because any time you spend with just being you, in the feeling of you, in the sense of you, the judgment of you is not there. The thoughts about you are not there. Only you are there. Only the sense of you is there. The thoughts of you cannot continue into the sense of you. Once you come into the sense of you, you have the real thing. When you go back to the thoughts about you, you have a theory. You have an opinion. You have a bias. You have memory. The memory of you is not really you. So in the memory of you, you judge you. In the ideas about you, you judge you. And that hurts you. That changes how it feels to be you, and you don't like that. So what you're disliking is not you. You're disliking the experience that you cause in you when you judge yourself. That's what you dislike. So it's got nothing to do with you actually, with being you. So you only think you don't like you. But it is impossible to dislike yourself. It is not yourself that you are disliking. It is the experience that you conjure in yourself out of your thoughts about yourself that you dislike. And that is not yet you. You are deeper than that. You are more than that. You are the life of you. And the life of you is only known as a felt sensation in the body. And right there in the felt sensation of you in the body, staying with that, the more you come back to that, the more you will discover the fulfillment of just being you when you are not harassing yourself and changing the experience of that through your thoughts about you. And then in the feeling of you, you have the knowing of you. This is a knowing, not knowledge, but a knowing. And that knowing sense of you is unquestionable because you're not making that happen. When you're judging yourself, you're making that sensation of disturbance and dislike happen through your stories that you're telling yourself about yourself. This is a fabrication. It's an illusion. It's a make-believe. You are making believe about yourself. You're making yourself change into an experience that is derived from your thinking about yourself and pretending that's you and disliking that. This is make-believe. This is imagination. Getting beneath that thinking back into the simple sensation of the animal of you, you will discover something that is not made up, something that is already there in its own right. And that which is there in its own right is the sensation, the live sensation of the living experience of you, the live presence of you. Don't try to describe that. Don't try and capture that. Don't put that into words, and don't try and capture that in a thought. As soon as you do that, whatever thoughts you make up about yourself is not it. That is no longer you, nor a correct description of you. That's how you lose yourself, or you disassociate from the living experience of yourself back into thoughts and judgments and criticisms of yourself, and you suffer all of that. That is not you. That is your imagination. That is what you've been taught to think. That is the product of your comparison with what you think you are and whether it measures up with what you think you should be. And all of that's been taught to you. None of that is your own discovery. What you will discover when you come back into yourself as the living, breathing, feeling, thinking, intelligent body is something that is happening right now. And that which is happening right now cannot be thought about. It can only be sensed. That which exists right now, always, in the eternal present moment of your living experience of life, from the day you're born to the day you die, is only known as the sense of you, and no words can capture that adequately. There is no words to describe you. As soon as you try and describe you, you lose you. You are the living sense of you. Any judgment of that is in ignorance. That is the cause of self-ignorance, because it adulterates, it pollutes what you are. And staying with that feeling, you will notice that the effects of self-judgment over a long time have become very harmful, making it very disturbing to be you. Being with that disturbance brings an end to that disturbance. Only the body can resolve that disturbance. Your thinking has caused that disturbance. Your judgments have caused that disturbance in how it feels to be you, in the body of you. Thinking more about that is not going to resolve that. You cannot resolve the problems you cause from thinking about yourself by more thinking about yourself, because thinking about yourself is actually our only problem. That's what causes us to dislike ourselves, to feel somehow different to what we truly do, or different to what we would in the real, true sense of ourselves once we're no longer thinking about ourselves. So how are you going to resolve that disturbance? You can't. You have to leave that up to the body of you. Thinking about it is only going to continue the disturbance. Feeling it as it is already in the flesh of you, all through you, let the body take care of it. Let your body take care of any disturbance that you have caused in there by your judgments and thoughts about yourself, and it will. And how do you let your body take care of it? Stop trying to do anything about the way you are. And I mean that. That is the most important thing. Anything you do about the way you are is only keeping the way you are distorted and confused and not really the experience of you. Anything you do about the way you are is another judgment about the way you are, and that's why you're trying to change it, trying to do something about it. You've got to get out of that trap. And that is just come back to the way you are as a felt sensation in your body and let that take care of itself, and it will. It's the only thing that can. The body's been around for millions of years. The body knows how to take care of itself, how to resolve all distresses, how to clean up all distortions, and gravitate back to its whole and natural self. And that's where the truth of you lies, not in your judgments of yourself. So your dislike of yourself is an indication that you're not really in touch with yourself, and what you're thinking you dislike is what you think is you, is not you at all. It's a distortion in the experience of you caused by your judgments and your thoughts about yourself. You cannot know or understand yourself from thinking. That is only known in the sensation of you in the body, exactly as you are now, no matter how disturbing that is right now. Staying with that will take you deeper into the depth of you, into the fullness and the wholeness of just being you.